As we're stuck in traffic, and the minister is here, he's been waiting, so he's never late. I just wanted to welcome you all, but apologize for waiting for the public broadcaster to set up so that we can have this thing for the benefit of the public and everyone out there. So please give them some space of 2 minutes or 3. I think they were stuck in traffic. Yes, Gautrain runs faster, Baba. Maybe one time you'll start using Gautrain. But yeah, colleagues, we are about to start. The minister is here, so I will just go and 30 seconds, 1 minute. Can I bring the minister through? Okay, cool. Really, I was saying that Gautrain runs faster. It's cheaper than petrol. I think that's a conversation for Parliament, that newsmakers and newsroom should have a free ride on a Gautrain so that we can get the information out to the citizens without any hindrance of petrol. That's a submission value I think you can make to Parliament. No, Tsepo will be chairing. I'm just making announcements. Please have a seat. We're about to start. The minister is here. We're just waiting for the colleague to just set up. You good? You want to do sound check?
Yeah, you.
1, 2. Sound check. Molweni nonke emakhaya ngamakhaya. Umhle. Amadoda azoba lapha azoba made le kunami ke. You'll tell me when to bring in the minister, ne?
Just a second.
Okay. Kuthiwa lo mnqwazi has a copyright to Minister Cele, so meme kuthiwa lo mnqwazi une copyright ku Minister Cele. Umhle iyavakala?
Yeah, you go.
All right. Okay, and let me go and bring the minister, ne? I think you're ready.
Yeah.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone.
Good to go. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tsepura Mudibe, Head of Corporate Affairs at the IDC, and it's a pleasure on behalf of Minister Patel, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, to welcome you to this media briefing session on the forthcoming Black Industrialists and Exporters Conference. Government's program, Black Industrialist Program, has in the last couple of years enabled the flourishing of black industrialists, participation in varied sectors of the economy, but also created a number of jobs. Without further delay, it is really my honor to invite the Honorable Minister to take to the podium and brief you on the forthcoming conference, its objectives, but really its importance to the South African economy and agenda for inclusive participation by South Africans in select sectors of the economy. Without delay, Mr. Patel.
Well, first, good morning to members of the media. Good to see everybody present. I think this is my first media conference where no one in the audience is wearing masks except one, so I can see your faces. Good morning to those members of the media that are joining us online, and it's good to be present. Thank you, Tsepo, for kicking off this press briefing. I'd first like to just introduce the team that's come with me. I have Malebo Mabichi-Thompson. She's the Deputy Director General of the DTIC, that's the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and she looks after a very big part of the Black Industrialist Program, dealing with the funding thereof. I also have Yunus Hussain, who is the head of Invest South Africa. That's the team that does a lot of work for the President's investment conferences, and Yunus is joined by Ambassador Sadiq Jaffer, who is in the audience, and is also part of the Invest SA team. So we've called this briefing to provide to members of the media some details on the inaugural Black Industrialist Conference that will be held next Wednesday, the 20th of July, at the Sandton Convention Center. The event will be attended by 500 black industrialists. These will be business people who are drawn from a range of sectors. They include food and beverages, furniture manufacturers, chemical producers, businesses manufacturing cosmetics and healthcare products, steel makers, mining companies as well as the industrial suppliers, clothing, textile and footwear firms, film makers, tourism businesses, and a number of black South African firms who are involved in innovation and advanced technology businesses. The aim of the conference is first to reflect on the achievements of the programs that we've had in place by government, but also by the private sector, to to boost the entry of black South Africans in the economy as owners of businesses, as managers of businesses. And it's secondly to identify what more can be done to strengthen the current efforts that we have. The conference will be an opportunity to harness broad-based empowerment to boost growth and jobs. So as to shift from the focus on affirmation, on addressing the legacy of the past, into a new focus on growing the economy more successfully, more strongly, more robustly, and contributing to more job creation, particularly through bringing more small and medium enterprises into the economy. There will be 5 broad components to the conference. The first will be a keynote address by the President and a number of panel discussions. The second one will be the launch of some important growth initiatives like the Black Exporters Network. The third will be a marketplace to showcase the products produced by small businesses, by black industrialists, by women-owned firms. The fourth one will be a number of presidential awards that will be issued. And these awards will be for excellence in business. And the final part of it will be the release of research results on the impact of various policy measures to promote economic inclusion and broader-based participation in our economy. And we'll also launch a book on the Black Industrialist Program. The panel discussions, there will be a number of themes that we will be looking at. An assessment, for example, of where we are now, what has worked, what are the successes. But also a panel that will grapple with what do we need to do differently. What are the new opportunities? How can we use the broad-based empowerment framework to boost growth and jobs? There will be a session on export promotion, how black South Africans can get into more active contribution to the export effort. And this will be within the context particularly of the African Continental Free Trade Area. We will have a focus on measuring the impact of broad-based empowerment. The numbers people will tell us a little bit about what they've been able to find out in their research. A session will be held on financing of black industrialists and small and medium enterprises. We'll also focus on supply chain development and procurement policies. What can government do? What can the private sector do? What are we doing already in these areas? And finally, there will also be a focus on where we are with worker ownership in the economy. Approximately 25 speakers and panelists will address the conference, both from black businesses and from established business people. We'll have a number of cabinet members engaging in the panels on areas related to these themes that I've highlighted and providing information on their efforts. And so those will be the panel discussions, really trying to elevate the discussion into how can we harness all of this entrepreneurial energy now in our society to tackle the big challenge of growth and jobs. I spoke earlier about the fact that there'll also be a marketplace where a number of exhibitors will come. These will be black-owned businesses and women-owned businesses that will showcase their products. Already 85 businesses have signed up to say they will be exhibiting their products and their services. And there's an opportunity for procurement officers of large companies and of retailers to meet smaller and emerging producers, but also established black producers. And I think members of the media will see next Wednesday that there's a number of quite important industrial and other products that are currently produced by firms that are owned by black South Africans. I want to turn next to the awards. Government recognized that in order to encourage strong business performance, it helps to publicize those instances, and the media has done great work in the past of telling the story of individual business persons who've often come from, having 50 Rand or 100 Rand available, and they've built slowly but steadily their businesses. And these are inspiring stories. They're inspiring for young South Africans to hear of businesses that are succeeding. And so the President is launching a series of awards for excellence in business. 73 companies have already been nominated for these awards. There'll be 10 awards that we are seeking to announce. These awards would be, for example, for a black business that has made the biggest innovation contribution, for the most promising small business, for a large business that has been able to add significantly to the GDP, for a business that's made an important contribution to South Africa's export effort, to a firm that has successfully localized the product that we may have historically imported. There'll be a Job Creation Award, a Young Industrialist Award, a Women Industrialist Award, and in the age we live in, we'll also look at a Sustainability Award, looking at greening of the economy, taking into account the new age where sustainability will be a significant part of our thinking, that will also then be recognized. And then we'll recognize an industrial pioneer, someone that has contributed significantly to our work. We're having a number of private sector companies that are sponsoring the activities and the Black Industrialist Conference. Companies like MTN, Sanlam, Amka, Samsung, Aspen, and we'll announce all the sponsors that are finally part of the sponsor team at the conference. And perhaps standing back from these details that I've provided to members of the media, the conference is an opportunity to reflect on where we've come with this journey on economic inclusion. As many South Africans will know, businesses are built intergenerationally. Someone starts a business, they put something on the table, they may make many mistakes, they may lose a bit of money, they recover, they build that little business which may start by selling fruit or making clothing, or perhaps a small scale producer of agricultural products, farm or something. And those businesses grow as the next generation takes over. The daughter or the son takes over the business, they grow it. And that's how, whether you look at the Swedish economy or the Chinese economy or the Brazilian economy, that's how economies grow. And it's tough. It's tough to build a business. For many black South Africans, they haven't had the resources in past generations to build up those businesses. So in many cases, we now have first generation business persons, the first person in a family that may come as a family of mine workers or a family of workers in the textile industry that are now beginning to run their own businesses. And in that context, we believe we've made significant strides, and the conference will be an opportunity to show that. Government, of course, does not create industrialists, but government creates the supportive environment, the enabling environment that either enables industrialists to take off or that limits their ability to take off. Many black businesses have the same challenges as other businesses. They have challenges of getting raw materials on time, at reasonable prices, of getting the right technology, of fixing the technology when it breaks down, of recruiting a great team of managers and workers, training everybody, getting the infrastructure in place, including public infrastructure that they need, getting customers. Let's call it the traditional problems of business. But they also have the challenge that in many cases, black businesses don't have access to capital and finance in a family. You can't go around to family members and say, look, I'm starting this business or I'm expanding my business. Can you put some money on the table and we'll repay it, or we make you partners and so on. That capital base is not as developed as it should be, had our history been different. There's also limited family assets to serve as collateral. You go to a bank, they say, yes, we like your business proposition, but you need to put some collateral up so that we risk share or that we cover our risk as a bank. And when families don't have that, they're unable to access the formal financial sector. And in many cases, there are fewer networks to tap into. People that you have known historically who are customers or suppliers are in the same, what is often called the school tie network or the golf networks and so on. Many new businesses started by young people, businesses started by black South Africans start with a deficit that you don't have those networks in place. And so the Black Industrialist Program that government has launched is about trying to find ways of supporting the entrepreneurial energy in spite of these challenges. And we will outline at the conference many of the elements of that Black Industrialist Program. It's not just about money. In many cases, it's supplier development where we work in partnership with businesses. For example, both Coca-Cola and PepsiCo are working with black suppliers now. They're bringing them into their supply chain, and this is being replicated in many other parts of the economy. I should also say that the Black Industrialist Program is an element of a wider, broad-based black economic empowerment effort that I would call a society-wide effort. And they include worker ownership, union investment schemes, women-owned community schemes that bring together capital and then find ways of increasing their equity in businesses. The conference will also address some of the challenges that we face. Challenges of fronting, where in a number of cases we've had examples where established businesses are the back end of a company that is regarded as a black-owned company. There's been the challenge, and we may as well be open, that many South Africans have been worried whether politically connected people are the black industrialists. And you'll see, as members of the media, you'll meet people who are running businesses, who are, you can see as you speak to them, you engage with them, they're entrepreneurs. They don't really know much about the internal challenges and politics of Parliament. What they know about is producing food, making chemicals, doing the cosmetics and the other products that we use. And there'll be a number of those that members of the media will have access to at the conference. We'll also look at structures that limit the opportunity for black shareholders to play a meaningful role in the economy. And so on Wednesday, we'll assemble a number of government officials, members of cabinet, the president, and so on. And let's call it the focus of the meeting are the black industrialists that will be there. They will be the spotlight of the conference, will be those 500 businesses that are making things, growing things, digging things, adding to our GDP, employing fellow South Africans, exporting their products. And it's about emphasizing the opportunities that there are to grow the economy. Yes, the inclusion part is important, but we're also looking how that inclusion can strengthen growth, exports, jobs, the things that are the most important things that ordinary South Africans are looking to the business community and to government to facilitate and to support. So that sets out the outline of the conference, and I'd like to give back to Tsepo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Patel, for that outline and insights on what our stakeholders can anticipate to see at the forthcoming conference, but also the content, which is more critical. And as the Minister was presenting, the key takeaways was the Black Industrialist Program is one lever of the broader economic transformation agenda, but critical. It's for us the contribution of the Black industrialists themselves in growing the economy, creating jobs. When the exhibition area as presented will literally be a showcase of what these 500 businesses are doing, the world-class export quality products they're producing, because that's really the tangible evidence of the contribution of the program to the economy. Minister also highlighted the partnerships behind the execution and delivery of the conference, but the anticipated presentation of the impact of the program will be critical for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, it's my pleasure to moderate the question and answer session. We'd advise, our request is we take 2-3 questions at a time to give the Minister and the team opportunity to internalize and also respond, and then we can kick it off from there. We'd like to invite you to identify yourselves and the media house that you represent as you kick off the questions. Because we are streaming from the podium, Minister, once we've received the questions, I'm going to invite you to come back so that we're able to interact and give feedback to our stakeholders. Let's kick off. Thank you. Amen. Please identify yourself and then kick off. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Beni Mutiani from the ECU. For several questions. One, since the program began, how much support in terms of rands and cents has government offered? And two, what has been the success rate of those who have been funded or assisted? And lastly, how many jobs have been created since the program began? Thank you.
Thank you, Veli. Any other questions? Not as yet. Minister, let me just give you a few seconds, but hoping that we can address the question on the rand's value of investments in the Black Industrialist Program, what the success impact has been, but jobs created. What we also indicated, and the Minister, there will be substantive analyzed research coming through and being presented at the conference that quantifies and gives the granular detail on the impact of the program up until 31 March 2022. But the Minister will have the opportunity to respond to your questions. Thank you, Veli.
Well, thank you very much. The conference will be the place where we are going to be revealing that information. I have been sitting thinking before coming to this, do I provide that? Because it's very interesting research we've done. But we do want the President to be able to take ownership of it, and not a good idea for me to take the big soundbite of the conference and give it today. So I'm going to make sure that the team has a cup of coffee for the journalist from the SABC so that he is there on Wednesday and he can get that one. But let me say, I provided Parliament in 2020 with an outline of the work that we've done, where we had quantified the support provided by the DTIC, the Industrial Development Corporation, that's the IDC, and the National Empowerment Fund, that's the NEF. And at the time, and we only took a 6-year period, over that 6-year period, we had provided support in excess of 25 billion rand. And we were able to show that in a number of cases that had attracted very significant counterparty investment by Black South Africans, so that, for example, if the IDC makes available funding, which has to be repaid, the entrepreneur also has to raise their own funds, sometimes from banks, sometimes from shareholding that they can pull together. So the investment impact of that was very significant. We were able to point, again, we took a small sample of those companies to show the impact that it had on the economy, on jobs, and on growth. And so what we're doing is we're updating those figures, and next Wednesday, that will be one of the figures that we will be releasing. So members of media will recall I said that one of the 5, let's call it platforms of the conference, is the release of research results. That is probably, you've cut to the chase, that's probably the most significant thing that we will be releasing on Wednesday morning. So I wish I could tell you the thing, but it's like in a movie, the whodunit part has to be kept. You've got to watch the whole movie to get the whodunit part. So, but I do think that it is worth stating that, in a way, we're shifting as government in what we're measuring. We used to measure how much money we're putting on the table to support black industrialists. We're now increasingly looking at what is the impact of those businesses on output in the economy, on jobs created, and so the jobs number will be very significant, and we'll be providing some of that information off a number of case studies. I hope I am forgiven not to reveal the outcome of the research results today, but Wednesday we'll make that available.
Thank you, Minister Patel. We'll take on a few more questions if there are any.
Thank you, Tsepo. I have a question. There's a question from our online participant. It's a journalist from Business Report newspaper. His name is Siphelele Duba. He's asking, what has been the overall impact of the Black Industrialist Program in South Africa's manufacturing sector, as production figures show that output in the industry is continuously shrinking due to a variety of reasons, with the latest data for May coming out at 2.3% year-on-year.
Thank you, Siphelele. And if I may see if there's any more additional questions, that's the one.
Mine is a follow-up of that 25 billion on that 6-year period. It looks at each period. That's 1, 2, and then of that, how much was just a grant that is not expected to be paid back, and how much of it was expected to be paid back, and the portion that it was expected to be paid back, what has been the percentage of the money that has been paid back? I don't know if I'm clear enough on just asked.
Yes, and Minister DDG, I'll just look for an indication if you want to step in, but the period was, remember, the policy was approved by Cabinet 2015. The program was launched 2016. The period the minister referred to was 2016 up until 2020. Perfect. That's the one. But I'll also just, invite the minister, but also the DDG, to respond to some of the issues and the sectoral impact of the Black Industrialist Program. Any other question before we invite the minister and the DDG to help us in responding to those questions? Thank you. If I may, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, first, thank you very much. So let me just start first with the question from Business Report. Thank you for the question. In fact, I'm really pleased with the question about manufacturing, because on Wednesday, probably the single biggest cohort of people that will be present from the black industrialists will be drawn from various parts of manufacturing or the feeder services to manufacturing. So the Black Industrialist Program has been trying to bring more black South Africans into the manufacturing sectors of the economy because of the economic multiplier of manufacturing. Every manufacturing job creates and supports a number of jobs in associated industry. For example, the food factories that we have creates and supports the supply chain of agricultural products. They need transport, the trucks on the road that takes the food around. They create jobs in cold storage and so on. So if we take the overall storyline of manufacturing, we've had in the last 2 decades, we've had a significant decrease in manufacturing's contribution to GDP. That led government to say, let's really start on a program. We called it localization, but it's really about reigniting industrialization in South Africa. We've had some successes, and I don't want to overplay these successes, but the most significant ones to give by way of illustration is we've been able to build an industry during the COVID period, manufacturing products that can assist with the treatment of COVID. So we launched, as an example, a number of factories that were making these health standard face masks, the surgical gowns. There were about more than 15 factories that collaborated together to make the CPAP ventilator. 20,000 of these ventilators were produced. Of course, we've seen the factory in Nelson Mandela Bay that launched the J&J vaccine. Another factory, BioVac, is about to launch the Pfizer vaccine, and there are other programs like this in place. Now, in some cases, these have included black industrialists. For example, with a CPAP manufacturer, we had quite an interesting problem during the COVID period. We couldn't access any of these ventilators on global markets. There was a massive shortage. So we helped to design, bringing the talent of South Africans together. South Africans designed a ventilator machine that can be used in hospitals. It was then put out for requests for proposals. One of the proposals was successful, but then they found they couldn't get the manufactured products that goes into the components that goes into the CPAP ventilator. And when we looked around, it was clear that the supply chains were so disrupted during COVID that we were not going to succeed in the limited time we gave ourselves. And we found a black industrialist based in Buffalo City in East London, who had originally been brought in on the Massmart Supplier Development Program. Members of the media will recall the famous Walmart case when Walmart bought the Massmart businesses, and out of that process a supplier fund was established. So there was a black South African producer of all things cooler boxes. He was brought into the Massmart supply chain, made these cooler boxes, built his factory, got the right technology. He was able to export these cooler boxes. And then during the COVID period, we were able to use his manufacturing capabilities for one of the components that went into the manufacture of the CPAP machines. So I give that as an illustration of the importance of having an industrial base, and that of course goes more broadly than just the Black Industrialist Program. White industrialists, foreign industrialists who set up factories in South Africa, all welcome. But we also need to find ways in which we bring more black South Africans, more women-owned businesses, and more youth-owned businesses into manufacturing. Turning to the question raised by the SABC colleague, in fact, it's when we reported to Parliament, we were able to break down the contribution that we were making via various entities. What came via the IDC, what came via the NEF, and what came via the DTIC. If I had to just broadly summarize, because I don't have all the data now in front of me, in the case of the IDC and the NEF, these are repayable loans. In the case of the DTIC, these were largely grants that were used to either buy machinery or buy the technical support that's required to boost productivity on a shop floor or introduce new technologies and so on. And I would say for the data that we used in Parliament in 2020, for that period that we surveyed, it was roughly speaking 10% of the total amount that was in the form of grants and 90% in the form of repayable loans. Some of those loans were at a lower interest rate. Some of those loans had less onerous requirements for collateral that needed to be put in place. So they were what we call concessional funding, but obviously not grants that were not repayable. And when we went a little bit beyond the work that we did just with the grant funding and the funding that we had at the time from the IDC and the NEF, we found that about 900 businesses had been supported in one or another way. And at the time, they sustained and had created about 50,000 jobs in the South African economy. That wasn't all of the black industrialists. That was within that sample that we had directly supported through the measures that I reported to Parliament. So it gives you an indication of what more we can do. Those numbers have subsequently gone up. We have now, out of the research, we can see even more jobs being created, even more investment being facilitated, and I hope that some of those numbers could then be, the updated details can then be made available at the conference. I hope that has covered the two questions that we put. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could just invite one more round if there are any more additional questions before we close off. Minister Patel, there is no further questions coming through. On behalf of GCIS, the partners in the room, we thank you for your presence, but also the briefing on the forthcoming conference. We look forward to not only the engagements, the panel discussions, the showcase, but the industrialists telling their own stories. But from an economic contribution perspective, the invitation is for all our stakeholders to see the variety of products that are manufactured, world-class, export quality products that on a daily basis contribute to the South African economy, but also sustain jobs. We look forward to seeing you at the Sandton Convention Center on the 20th of July. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.